The dojo had never been this quiet. Students lined the mats, their gis crisp, their whispers cut off mid-breath as every eye locked on the two boys in the center. One was Jeremy, a black belt whose swagger filled the room. The other was Jamal, a newcomer no one expected to last a single round. Without warning, Jeremy lunged fast, loud, cocky. The crowd leaned forward, expecting the new boy to stumble. But Jamal didn't flinch. He moved in a way that froze the room, his calm unsettling everyone watching. Jeremy thrived on attention. Every new student knew his reputation. Flashy, fearless, sometimes cruel. His grin dared people to look away. His moves meant to dazzle as much as defeat. Across the room, Jamal sat quietly, hands folded, eyes low. He looked more like a visitor than a fighter, blending into the background. Jeremy spotted him and decided tonight's entertainment would come at the newcomer's expense. "Hey, new kid," Jeremy called, voice echoing. "You think you can just sit there? How about you spar me for fun?" The room stilled. Instructors exchanged quick glances but didn't step in. Everyone knew Jeremy's fun usually meant someone else's humiliation. Jamal didn't respond right away. His silence stretched, and Jeremy smirked, mistaking it for fear. "What's the matter? Too scared?" The tension thickened. Students shifted nervously, waiting to see if the quiet boy would fold or rise. Slowly, Jamal stood. His voice was calm, steady. "All right, Jeremy, let's do it." Gasps rippled through the room. The instructors leaned forward, the students edged closer. The challenge wasn't just issued, it had been accepted. Jeremy's grin stretched wider, bouncing lightly on his toes. "Don't say I didn't warn you." And as the dojo fell into silence once more, the fight began. Before we see how this fight unfolds, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. And let us know in the comments which city or country you're watching from. The air inside the dojo tightened as the two boys squared off. Jeremy's grin stretched wide, his stance loose but full of swagger. He bounced lightly on the balls of his feet, soaking in the attention. Jamal stood still, arms low, shoulders relaxed, his posture calm but steady. The instructors gave the signal. Jeremy struck first. A sharp jab snapped forward, followed by another and then a kick that cracked against the air. His movements were fast and designed not only to land, but to impress. Gasps rippled through the younger students, dazzled by the speed of a black belt in motion. But Jamal didn't fold. He shifted just enough to redirect the blows, his weight rolling smoothly from heel to toe. Each motion was deliberate, quiet. He didn't counter recklessly. He absorbed and flowed. Whispers spread across the mat. The newcomer wasn't stumbling. Jeremy was supposed to dominate, yet Jamal was still on his feet, untouched, his expression unchanged. Jeremy feinted left, then snapped into a spinning kick. The crowd braced, but Jamal slid aside, the strike slicing harmless air. Laughter and gasps rippled through the students. Jeremy's grin flickered. "Not bad," he muttered, forcing the grin back onto his face. But Jamal's silence rattled him. For Jeremy, fighting was about flash and spectacle. For Jamal, it was about rhythm, and he was already learning Jeremy's. The instructors whispered among themselves, "That boy's got control. That's not beginner work." Another nodded slowly. Jamal wasn't the easy target Jeremy expected. Jeremy pressed harder, jab, cross, hook, each faster than the last. Jamal blocked, deflected, then slipped in a single counter, a quick tap to Jeremy's ribs. It didn't hurt, but it broke his rhythm. The crowd gasped. The black belt had been touched. Jeremy stepped back, his face flushed. "You got lucky," he hissed. Jamal's voice was calm. "Luck has nothing to do with it," the dojo murmured. This wasn't just a spar anymore, it was a battle of wills. Jeremy's grin thinned as his breathing grew heavier. He was fighting for more than pride now. He was fighting to protect the image he had built. He launched another furious sequence, a spinning back kick, a hook, a flurry of fists. Jamal glided backward, each step calculated, each block efficient. The crowd whispered in disbelief. How is he doing that? The instructors didn't intervene. They wanted to see where this was going. Jeremy, chest heaving, narrowed his eyes. He had underestimated Jamal, and for the first time, he knew it. Jamal's body moved like water, each defense flowing into the next. But inside, the fight wasn't just with Jeremy, it was with the shadows of where he came from. Long before the dojo, long before he wore a gi, Jamal's lessons were taught on cracked sidewalks and noisy streets. His neighborhood was no stranger to fights, but they weren't for trophies, they were for survival. In that chaos, his father had been his anchor. His father's scarred hands told stories, knuckles hardened from battles fought not for pride, but for dignity. More than once, he'd pulled Jamal aside after a scuffle, his voice steady. "Respect the art, son. But more than that, respect yourself. Strength isn't about showing off, it's about heart." Those words had become Jamal's armor. And now, as Jeremy pressed him, throwing strike after strike, Jamal carried them like a shield. "Come on," Jeremy barked, his voice sharp, trying to provoke. He wanted a show. He wanted to rattle the newcomer into mistakes. But Jamal's silence wasn't fear, it was discipline. He had learned that silence unnerves those who thrive on noise. Jeremy thrived on flash, on eyes watching him. Jamal thrived on control. The students whispered, unsettled. Some admired Jeremy's speed, dazzled by his kicks. But others leaned toward Jamal, noticing his composure, his steady breathing, the way his balance never broke. The tide of opinion was shifting. On the edge of the mat, one instructor muttered to another, "That boy's been trained. He moves like someone who knows what he's doing." The other nodded, unwilling to deny it. Jamal's father's words echoed louder in his chest. "When your heart beats faster, slow down. When the world gets louder, quiet yourself. That's where strength lives." Jeremy surged forward again, unleashing a barrage. Jamal caught most of it, redirecting and stepping back. One punch clipped his shoulder. The crowd gasped. Jeremy grinned wide, feeding off the sound. But Jamal simply exhaled, steadied his stance, and reset. The hit hadn't shaken him. It had reminded him of why he was here, to prove not only that he belonged, but that respect came from composure, not noise. The dojo hummed with tension. Jeremy's strikes grew louder, but beneath the noise, Jamal found calm. He wasn't fighting Jeremy's body anymore, he was fighting his pride. Students leaned forward, caught between disbelief and admiration. The instructors remained silent, but their eyes told the truth. The boy wasn't just surviving, he was teaching the dojo a lesson without saying a word. Jeremy roared suddenly, launching a wild strike that pushed Jamal back a few steps. For the first time, it looked like he might falter. The crowd jolted, excitement surging at the sight of a crack in Jamal's composure. Jeremy's grin widened as he pressed forward, convinced the fight was tipping in his favor. "Now I've got you," he shouted. But Jamal's eyes steadied, his breathing slowed, and as the storm raged against him, his calm became unshakable. The fight quickened. Jeremy's breaths came heavy, his grin stretched thin, more desperate than cocky. The dojo had gone silent again, every eye locked on the storm building at the center of the mat. He lunged with fury. A front kick snapped through the air, followed by a spinning hook that skimmed Jamal's temple close enough to stir his gi. Gasps broke from the crowd. For the first time, Jamal's heels slid backward. His balance wavered. Jeremy saw it, instantly blood in the water. "Finally," he hissed. He pounced with a barrage of punches, fists hammering in rapid succession. Jamal blocked most, but the sheer force pushed him back step by step. The circle of students shuffled closer, eyes wide. For the first time that night, Jamal staggered. His shoulder jerked under a heavy hook, and the crowd erupted. Some gasped, others cheered Jeremy on. The instructors leaned forward, tense, ready to intervene if Jamal fell. Jeremy's eyes gleamed with triumph. "You're finished," he barked, pouring everything into his strikes. His fists blurred, his kicks whipped through the air, a storm meant to drown Jamal completely. And for a heartbeat, doubt crept into Jamal's chest. The noise, the force, the cheers, it all swirled around him, pressing down. But beneath the chaos, another voice cut through. His father's. "When your heart beats faster, slow down. When the world gets louder, quiet yourself. That's where strength lives." Jamal exhaled. The noise dimmed. His breathing steadied, his eyes locked onto Jeremy with clarity. The black belt swung a wild hook. Jamal stepped just to the side, hands snapping out to redirect the strike. Jeremy's momentum betrayed him, his body twisting off balance. He stumbled forward, arms flailing. The students gasped as the black belt teetered on the edge of collapse. For the first time, Jeremy looked vulnerable. The dojo froze. Jamal had the chance to end it, to strike and humiliate him in front of everyone. But Jamal didn't move. He stood steady, his calm louder than any cheer could ever be. Jeremy barely regained his footing, chest heaving, face flushed. The arrogance was gone from his eyes, replaced with disbelief. Around them, whispers spread. He held back, one student murmured. Others nodded, realization dawning. But Jeremy's pride roared louder than reason. With a growl, he charged again, fists flying recklessly. His movements were sloppy now, all fury, no control. Jamal met him with ease. Each strike was deflected, each kick redirected. He was no longer fighting Jeremy's body, he was dismantling his pride. The instructors exchanged glances, understanding what was unfolding. Jamal wasn't winning through power. He was winning through discipline. Then came the breaking point. Jeremy threw a spinning kick too hastily, his foot slicing wide. Jamal sidestepped, guiding him with the lightest touch. Jeremy stumbled, arms pinwheeling, his body tilting toward the mat. The dojo leaned forward as one, the silence thick enough to feel. Jeremy, the showman who had always commanded the floor, was a heartbeat away from falling. And Jamal stood there, calm, unyielding. The choice was his. The dojo held its breath. Jeremy stumbled, arms flailing, pride dangling by a thread. Jamal had the chance to finish it, to strike, to humiliate him, to claim victory in front of everyone. But Jamal didn't. He stood steady, calm, waiting. His restraint cut deeper than any blow. Jeremy's chest heaved, his face flushed with frustration. For a moment, their eyes locked. In Jamal's gaze there was no arrogance, no anger, only control. And for Jeremy, that quiet strength was more unsettling than defeat itself. Yet pride roared louder than reason. Jeremy lunged again, fists wild, but his movements had lost precision, fueled only by desperation. This time, Jamal didn't yield ground. He deflected, sidestepped, redirected, and with a smooth turn of his hips, he used Jeremy's momentum against him. Jeremy hit the mat with a heavy thud. The dojo froze. For a long moment, no one moved. Then whispers broke into stunned applause. The black belt who had ruled with flash lay beaten, not by brute force but by calm discipline. Jamal didn't gloat. He extended a hand. The room fell quiet again. Jeremy stared at it, pride and humility battling across his face. Slowly, with a heavy breath, he took it. Jamal pulled him to his feet. "You got me," Jeremy muttered. The swagger was gone from his voice. The students erupted in applause, this time genuine. Their admiration had shifted. Jeremy had always commanded the crowd through spectacle. Jamal had earned it through respect. One instructor stepped forward, his voice steady. Tonight wasn't just a sparring match. It was a lesson. Pride blinds, discipline strengthens, and real strength comes from the heart. Jeremy bowed his head. "I still have a lot to learn." He looked back at Jamal, voice quieter now. "Teach me, not just how to fight, but how to fight like you." Jamal nodded. "We all have something to learn. That's how we grow." The dojo exhaled as one. The tension dissolved into something lighter. Training resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. Students looked at each other differently, less like rivals, more like partners. Jeremy trained with new humility. The arrogance was tempered, replaced with focus. And Jamal? He was no longer the outsider sitting silently on the edge of the mat. He had become part of the dojo's heartbeat, the embodiment of the respect painted on its banners. Later that night, as the last students left, Jamal glanced at those banners. Discipline, respect, perseverance. He thought of his father's scarred hands, of the lessons passed down outside of any dojo. And for the first time, he allowed himself a small, quiet smile. He had come seeking a place to belong. Tonight, he had found it. And for everyone watching, the sound they would never forget wasn't Jeremy hitting the mat. It was the silence that followed, the silence of respect finally earned. If you loved this story, Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss more stories of resilience, respect, and justice. And let us know in the comments which city or country you're watching from. It's always amazing to see our community worldwide.